Welcome to Style Masterclass, the podcast that teaches women to look stylish and feel confident so that they can show up ready to conquer and slay, no matter what size they are. I'm your host, Miss J. You ready?
Hello, hello. This is a very special podcast episode because I have my dear, dear friend, my sister, Sarah Fisk, with us today. She's amazing. And we're doing this as a joint effort on both of our podcasts. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell you all the things, where she can find you. I'll start us out. I'm Judith Gatan. I'm a master certified coach and personal stylist. I teach women how to have makeovers that last a lifetime. And I'm here with my dear friend. Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm Sarah Fisk. I am a master coach and instructor, and I teach women how to stop people-pleasing and perfectionating.
Perfectionating. So good.
I needed a verb, and lo and behold, there is one. I didn't even have to make one up.
Oh, it kind of sounds made up, but I was like, all right, that sounds good. We can go with it.
Well, I looked it up and it's actually legit, but if for some reason it's not attributed to anyone, I'll take it. Sure.
You can take it. I like it. I like it. So, my friend, you just started a podcast and it has been amazing and it has been so well received. Tell us about it and the name of it.
It has been so fun. It is called the Ex Good Girl Podcast. It is completely autobiographical in nature, and it just explores how people who are socialized as women have this good girl burden put on them. There's rules for being a good girl. There's what's expected of you, what good girls do, what good girls don't do, how they dress, how they act, what they do with their free time. And it's just, anytime I talk about this, it takes like 0.2 seconds for women, people socialized as women, to know what the good girl rules are, right? Don't be a burden. Don't be mean, smile, be polite, use good manners, make sure you don't cause waves. It's so prevalent. And I don't know, I was specifically taught how to behave at home and at church, but I think that even if you're not, you know what the rules are.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because I coach a lot of perfectionist, people-pleasing high achievers who in some ways defy the good girl rules, but feel like they've had to make up for it in other places.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's just so interesting how we are separated from ourselves at such a young age. And I just did another podcast about this in which I said, this isn't nefarious and evil, but when our caregivers say, stop crying, you're not hurt, or finish your food. No, I don't care if you're already full. There's only 5 more bites there. Finish them. Or you go apologize right now. Or I don't care. He's your uncle. You go give him a hug and a kiss. The thousands of ways in which we are taught to not trust that our sensations, our intuition, our bodily reactions to things. We grow up with that. And then when we try to assert ourselves, we can feel guilty. We can feel really guilty because we're not taught to honor our own experience, our own intuitive hits about the world. We're just not taught. So I can see how a lot of women defy the good girl, but still have some guilt about that.
Oh, yeah. I like the way you put that because what I've observed, I'll just speak for myself and then someone can extrapolate out their own story, right? I've observed in myself where I've been really outspoken. Let's say I was in a courtroom scenario and I was like, actually, Your Honor, that's completely false. And here are the actual facts. And I was very ungood girl-like. I interrupted. Yes. I raised my voice. I was stern and feeling in the moment that was absolutely the right choice. And then getting back to my car, soaked in sweat.
Yes.
Instant feeling of guilt and shame. And I was inappropriate. Even though I got what I wanted. I left the room with what I wanted. The relationships actually stayed intact. And in my own head, in my own heart, and in my own car, it was like the cascade of, fuck, what have I done?
Yeah. The self-criticism, the second guessing, the self-doubt, ruminating. We women burn thousands of hours a year doing that shit to ourselves.
This is a question and I found this so fascinating. You ask your clients this, how many hours per week.
Yeah.
Or day and then week and then, go out from there. They spend thinking about some form of people pleasing. And so what would you say sort of the average is?
The average, I mean, I get anywhere from 3 hours a day to 5 or 6 hours a day. And what's interesting is our bodies are doing something else. Like we're driving, we're grocery shopping, or we're working, but it's our brain that is just going over and over and over past events, wishing I'd said something different. Why didn't I think of that? Worrying about future events and where I'm going to run into the person again and it's going to be awkward. I should have done that. Why didn't I think of that? And self-flagellation, it's anywhere from, like I said, 3 to 5 hours a day, which if you do the math, 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, that's 1,092 hours on the low end of energy that is just hemorrhaging out of us. We don't get anything in return for that. We just feel terrible and exhausted.
Damn, y'all.
It's thousands of hours.
I mean, I've heard her say this number before, but it always hits me like, imagine, and just hit, dear listener, think about this for a moment. And then I love to do like imagination play. I love to be future focused and think about my future self. Sarah has coached me, and we had the other day I had this amazing vision for something I'm creating and thinking about. But imagine if I could stay there longer, yes. Right? I didn't have to come up from the dreaming and planning and plotting and executing to think about, I really could have said that differently. Yeah. Or, she kind of made a face. I'm always fascinated by my clients who are like, she made a face. I'm like, but did she actually say words that accompanied said face? Or was it, no, she made it. I was like, okay, so somebody potentially grunted and made a face in your direction. And you've made it mean you're the worst friend on the planet. You've committed a grave sin. You're clearly going to hell. And now you should avoid the grocery store forever.
Yeah. And they could have just literally been trying not to fart in your presence. Right?
Literally.
It could be just like a bodily function thing. And yet our brains are so overly programmed to be connected to everybody else and their grimaces and their faces and their smiles and their eyes and their words that we just make it mean that we've somehow messed it up all the time. And your question, I think, is the most important one. What else could I do with all of that time, all of that energy, all of that brain space? We could do amazing things. We could take a nap if we wanted to, right? It's like, I don't necessarily think that we need to recoup those hours to do something bigger and better, because that's also how women are programmed, right?
Right. I love that you brought that up. Absolutely.
Self-improving. It could be, I'm going to lay down. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to get up. I'm going to make myself a sandwich, eat some chips, and watch a show that I really enjoy. But it's the lack of awareness about how all of that energy is lost that I just really want to highlight, because not only do you not get that back, there's no return on that energy investment. It's why we feel terrible and exhausted so much of the time. It's exactly why.
So now that everyone's like, damn, all right, y'all. And they're counting their hours in their head. We know some of you are my math and science peeps. I love y'all. My nerds. I love you so much. Please don't be doing calculations in your head right now. Come back to us. Don't be dismayed. Part of what our job as coaches is to raise your level of awareness and just is like, is this useful? Is this helpful? Do I want to continue to do this thing in the way that I've done it? That's a huge starting point for most coaching. It's just to raise your awareness of this thing that you're doing that you may not want to be doing it anymore, or you don't want to do it in the way that you're doing it. And come back to us if you're like, damn, it's totally okay and very normal. And I think in both of our line of work, we see our clients raise their awareness and then like a little dismay sets in, like, oh man, am I doing that?
Yeah.
Oh no, sure. The hours lost. Right. So where would they go from there? Okay. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Now
yes. What? Okay. So let's have a 2-second funeral. Okay. We're sorry. No more need for dismay. You have to cut that off. I am merciless about that kind of self-bullying. When I catch it, my immediate response is one of two. If I catch it and I feel like the response needs to be me stepping into my power, I say, no, No, I will not do that. I'm not going to do that to myself. No. And then I move my body. I get up and I walk around the room if I need to. I go to another place. I shake my hands or my arms to kind of shake everything up and like get myself back. So I am fully in charge of my thoughts. And I do that because it sometimes feels really good. Like I'm standing up to these bullying thoughts to say no. Sometimes I have the sense that I want a little more love and a little more grace and a little more compassion. And so then it sounds a little bit more like, oh, honey, it's okay. I know we have done this for a long time, but we're not going to do it today. No, honey. No, we're not doing that. I love you. Nobody speaks to us that way. Not even us. I know. I refer to myself as plural.
Oh no, I used to be at war with the little voice. I used to have such a hard time. I felt like I was at a war with my brain.
Yes.
And I remember being coached that there was no war. I could make peace at some point. And what entered into that dialogue was now Juji's. Hey, Juji's. Yes. That's not very nice.
Yes.
And Juji's is something my sisters would call me when I was younger. Jujubes. And it's this like funny little way of saying, oh, honey, like that. Yeah. That's just not very nice. And it might be patronizing. Somebody might be recoiling from that idea of referring to yourself in that way from when you were a little kid. But for me, it really works. So for each of you, you're going to have to find your version of no, stop, or hey, lovey-dovey, or bunny, or whatever. Yeah. That's not very nice.
That's not very nice. And what I want you to notice is that you end up in the same place. We're not doing that. You don't allow it to continue. It's just whether or not your sense is that this situation calls for like me standing in power or love. Some of both. It's not either or, but it's essential that we use the power of our brains to redirect our thoughts on purpose to stop that, because no one else can. We're the only ones who are capable of doing that. And I also find it very helpful to move my body as a way of just resetting, whether it's just standing up, whether it's stretching, whether it's actually taking a little mini walk. That is how I shut off that voice. And it has to happen. It's essential.
Tell me why it's essential, because I understand, but our listener might not, as to why that's essential. Because somebody might be listening and be like, well, that's hella woo. Like I have to get up and like wave my arms. Like, okay. Like for some of my clients, I know that there's like, I can feel them eye rolling. It's like the funniest thing sometimes. And I'm like on a pod and they're like, I totally eye rolled when you said that. I was like, yeah, I know how y'all roll. So if someone hears you say moving is essential, tell us why. Because I know that there's a sound reason.
It's because your body reacts to movement differently than we think. It actually does reset our brains. It gives us a chance to interrupt that flow of thoughts, that sometimes the bullying flow that just seems like an onslaught that we can't stop. It gives our attention a chance to focus on movement rather than the thoughts. And what I meant was essential. Yes, the movement is certainly part of it. What is essential is to stop it. What is essential is to cut it off, because you're the only one who can do that. And when you cut it off, all of a sudden you find yourself with less of that ruminating, bullying, self-criticizing, self-doubting, judging behavior going on. And when you have less of that, you have more room in your life for something else.
I'm curious, and I don't know if you find this as your client, so I'm curious what your response would be. So sometimes I think clients are like, but then I'd be talking to myself a lot, right? Like, yes, I get that. I should have a dialogue. I should have a little chat about that. We should call a stop to that. But then I'd be talking to myself all the time. Because I always think that's kind of like, it gives me a giggle when I get some sort of response like, oh, you want me to talk to myself that much? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my husband stopped me one day and he said, you talk to yourself a lot. Are you aware of that? I can tell if he was like worried about me. Maybe he was. But I was like, yeah, I do. It's on purpose because I have had years and years and years and years of other people telling me what I should do with my time, my energy, my effort, my brain. And now I'm telling me. And I've got some making up to do because I have been so overly connected to those other voices. Now it's time for me to connect to mine. That's what I would say.
Get it, girl. I felt the fire. It's so good.
I feel like this is like women's secret weapon because when we can stop that bullying and when we can deeply connect to ourselves with love and compassion, that's when we have the opportunity to really make changes in small and big ways that result in us being more satisfied, whether it's, you know what? I deserve a fucking bra that fits me. I deserve clothes that I feel good in. I deserve to have the use of my brain and my time for things that bring me joy. That's when that switch happens. And not only do we learn to honor ourselves, but we actually learn to honor our relationships with other people and hold both of us as equals. What I want to do with my time, what is important to me, how I want to dress, how I want to look, how I want to feel, and my partner, my children, the other people in my life that I might care about, right? It's not either or. And I think a lot of women feel like the worst thing we can be called as a woman is what?
Well, there's a bitch. That's like number one. A hoe, or we're prude.
Yes. Or selfish, right?
Selfish. Yeah.
You're a selfish bitch, right? And so many women do not want to really honor their own desires and wanting because they think it's selfish. But what I have learned by coaching hundreds and hundreds of women is that that's not true. What actually happens is you just learn to honor yourself in the same way that you already are paying attention to and honoring the requests and desires of the people that you love and that you want to have good relationships with. It's not either or. It can be both.
Yeah. And I found that too. A lot of my clients have this huge standard of excellence when it comes to work.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to their work in the world, there's this amazing standard of excellence. Like there are non-negotiables. There are things that they're very, very passionate about. There are systems and processes in place. It's fascinating to me, especially like my doctors, my scientists, like they are into systems and processes. Yeah. And then I'm like, how did you get ready this morning? And it's like this something, I don't know what happened, but the boss woman who's like running plants, right? I have several clients who run giant plants. I'm still fascinated by their jobs. I don't quite understand them, but I'm in awe of these women.
Yeah.
And they're male dominated professions. And like, it's incredible how they show up to work. I have several clients who are formerly in the armed forces. Some of them still participate in the armed forces in these high level positions. Not even a thought. Of course, there's systems and processes.
Yeah.
And like, how did you get ready this morning? And I don't know where that woman went.
How do the good girl rules show up then for your clients?
So interesting. I kind of joke with them that like wake up in the morning and a holographic to-do list pops up. Right? Like, so before their feet have even hit the floor, it's like, and it's queued up. And everything they're supposed to do, everyone they're in charge of, everybody they have to take care of, 5 million things that they forgot, the thing they said when they were in the 5th grade that they're now remembering this morning on of all mornings, right? Like this holographic weird to-do list pops up the moment they open their eyes, like their brain comes online. And they are like nowhere on the list. Somewhere along the way, and I think this is that some disembodied thing that you speak to is they start operating like a brain without a body.
Yeah.
They're so smart. So they just go be smart and don't worry about that other stuff, the style stuff, the beauty stuff, the taking care of yourself stuff. Like you just go be smart. And I think it works, right? It's a great coping skill to develop. You just disengage from what's happening in your lower half. Yeah. Like you wear clothes to cover your lady parts because you don't want to walk around naked, right? And you're kind of like, you call it, you're done. Like it's you'll deal with the fact that your undies are up your butt all day, your bra strap falls 20 times a day and low-key driving you insane, that the tags on your clothes are extremely itchy. For my neurodiverse peeps, it's heartbreaking to me
Yeah.
You're a highly intelligent, highly sensitive person, and you're neurodivergent, and you're wearing clothing that feels itchy to you. But you've been told, and particularly for women who go underdiagnosed and are told to just like not even worry about that stuff, right? Just disengage. When they come to work with me, suddenly they're like, why is this shirt the most horrible thing? And I want to burn this. I'm like, how long have you had that? Oh, like 5 years. Has it always been really itchy? Yeah. It drove me crazy.
Yeah. Did you like it when you bought it? I mean, I remember working with you and you were asking me about my process for buying clothes. And I was like, well, it's fine. It's fine. That was the deciding factor for so many purchases. Like, it covers up what it needs to cover up. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'll work. It'll do. Do you find that a lot of your clients have that kind of thinking about their clothing?
Yeah, because they're so disconnected from their own body.
Yeah.
So it'll do. I mean, like I have underwear on. I'm like, but you just told me it's like the worst wedgie of your life. What are you doing? Like, or, this dress, I actually really secretly hate it and it's super itchy and I don't like where the waistline hits. But, like I got it for this one event because I really needed it and I had to shop overnight. So now it's just like my event dress. Yeah. You hate it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I say it with all the love in the world. We're trained to be this way. Yes. We're trained to deliberately ignore all of these little distractions and discomforts and get along to get along. And then I feel like one day there's just like this other generation of women who's like, fuck this. I can't take it anymore.
Or on the other side, we are trained that our bodies are for other people. And that we wear clothing to show off or to be pleasing to other people. And so we're constantly worried, do I look good enough? Am I thin? Or thin-ish, right? There's all of these beauty standards. So how do you help your clients make sense of beauty standards and the messages that women get about their bodies and their clothes?
I mean, just like you have good girl rules, we have what we call BS fashion rules. And it can run the gamut for every woman from whatever her background is. It's different. But part of it is normalizing that that's just some BS that somebody came up with and is not actual gospel truth, which it gets very conflated sometimes, right? So we've done, fun, not fun, funny, not funny games online where we've been like, tell us a rule, something your mama told you when you were younger. And it's run the gamut from really benign things to like, don't wear white after Labor Day. You can't wear black and brown together. You can't wear black and navy blue together, which is all fine, to things as extreme as if you don't wear earrings and take out a pocketbook with you, you're a streetwalker. If you wear red or blue eyeshadow, you're a streetwalker. If you walk too big, it's unladylike. I mean, we're talking to a 6 foot tall woman who's walking too big, but okay.
Oh, wow. Don't take up space.
Don't take up space. God forbid. If you're fat, you can't wear stripes. Like it runs the gamut. What underlies all of it is the idea that somehow your body has to change to conform to the clothing so that everybody else can be comfortable around you.
You and I talked about this when I was in your program. I grew up in a very conservative religious culture. I grew up Mormon, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as they like to be called. And I even got messages that my body was a little bad and that I couldn't always trust the things that I wanted, and that sexual feelings or feelings of desire, I had to really, really watch those because that could lead to a lot of bad things happening. And so one of the things that I was taught was that I had to cover my body. Mormons do wear a religious undergarment, some of them at some point in their life. And I wore it. And the constant feeling that I had was like having to hide it and having to hide my body so that I didn't offend God, so that I didn't make men have bad thoughts about me, so that I wasn't immodest. That was a big source of the programming that I got. How do you work with your clients around those kind of issues?
Well, I mean, it's so interesting because on one hand, like I myself have chosen to dress what some people would consider modestly. So I've kind of joked. I did a speech where I was like, you'll never see me naked on the grams. And somebody was cheering and then later apologized. She's like, that's not what I meant. I was like, that's hilarious. But I think what is underlying all of this, and it's kind of cool to come back to this idea, is do you know that you have a choice?
Yes.
And then you get to decide what you do next with that choice, while also recognizing there's tons of social programming, there's systemic things, there's things that almost feel rooted to your very soul about why you're making the choice you're making. But just do you know you have a choice?
Because that is so essential.
Really powerful.
And that choice connected to what I want, what I like, what I think would be fun to wear or do. You were the first person to really help me see that clothes were not just a utilitarian thing, but could be forms of self-expression, could be really fun, could be enjoyable, that I deserved a bra that fit. And I think all of that really is important for the people that I work with to hear, because again, a good girl is over-connected to people outside of her and under-connected to herself. And once we can improve self-connection, I wanted to wear all kinds of cute things. I really wanted to. And I just had to let myself believe that I deserved it, that it was okay. And I had to find what you said, my choice. And then I had to find the things that I liked. And once those two things, I mean, getting dressed has really never been more fun for me, even though I will totally admit to wearing stretchy pants from the waist down every single day, no matter what I'm wearing on top, right? I'm comfortable that way. To have the power of my choice was just really amazing.
That kind of journey is not for the faint of heart, friends. So I've coached a lot of people who, former members of the church that you're a former member of, when they had their first undergarment shopping experience after deciding, and not making the decision lightly, making the decision to wear secular undergarments is the phrase that was used.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shift. That's fraught. That is not for the faint of heart. And well, that example may be one that some of you might be responding to. Well, that's kind of an extreme example, but have you ever had a woman try and get rid of jeans that she swore was her goal jeans? Yes. And there's same kind of religious fervor around the idea that she was supposed to be a smaller size.
Yes.
And what does that mean for her now? Yes. I love to coach women through this, but just starting with like, you have a say in this. You absolutely have a say in this. And if we can recognize nothing else, we could start there.
I think that becomes a really powerful point of entry for so many women to just spend some time with what they want, to spend some time getting to know the desires that they have. And then with the power of our incredible prefrontal cortexes, we can decide, okay, I may want to wear a string bikini on a beach, but is that really something that I'm going to actually do? Maybe it is. I wore my first bikini at 48 years old, y'all. It's never too late. Not a string bikini. That's not what I wanted. But to then allow ourselves to move in the direction of what we want to do with our time and our energy and our brain space, our clothes, our own bodies. It's so powerful.
It's extremely powerful. I have two clients of note, and they'll probably listen. So I love you. If you're listening, you know who you are. They're in my membership Modern Charm School, and they're in their 70s. And these women wear so much color, and they have such a sweet, like sassy frankness about them. And I just love having them be a part of our community because, like, yes, they're a testament to it's never too late, but also like at somewhere along the way, they decided they just weren't going to play by the rules anymore. It's so fucking cool to see. It's so fucking cool to see.
So amazing. So if people want to work with you, Judith, tell them, I want you to tell them about Modern Charm School and anything else they would need to know.
So if you want to work with me, the first way in is Modern Charm School. And it's an online private social club for high achieving women. And the virtual version right now that lives in my brain and in the hearts of what we call the charming community, they've called themselves the charming family, is I like to think of like an Art Deco building, first floor. We get you styled and dressed and ready. It's like a giant closet playground. And then the next floor, we talk about wealth. and how to generate more of it. And then we talk about gumption and how to lead with it. And then the top floor is all about legacy and what you want to leave behind. It's a very, very cool community. And it's been exciting to see it develop and its existence. It's always a 6-month-old baby and she's beautiful.
Well, having been able to peek behind the doors and interact with the people in your community, there's no other place like it. It is absolutely unique. And I've benefited so much from your expertise and your knowledge. And so I'm so proud of you. I just want to say that for everyone here to hear. I'm so proud of you because you being able to create Modern Charm School has been a process of disconnecting from what other people think you should do. We're never over it, right? Even as coaches. And so I am just so proud of that, the work that you have done, because it's been huge and it's just blowing up the lives of so many women.
Thank you, friend. I received that. And I'll try not to get super emotional. But I mean, you've been there from day one where I was like, I want to not be a lawyer anymore. And this was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want it. You're like,
Judith and I were trained as coaches together. That's how long we've been at this. And yeah, I just have so much love and respect for what you do.
We know all the same things. And Sarah, we were so lucky to have her teach at Glam Camp for us and teach a whole course on workshop, actually is a more appropriate word, on stop people pleasing. It was powerful. I mean, the response, the chat was flying off the hook in there. So tell the folks where they can work with you and how to enter your world.
I have a group coaching program called Stop People Pleasing. And it's going to be starting again at the end of April, beginning of May. I also do work with clients one-on-one if that's a more appropriate thing for them. The group, if you can just imagine like healing and being challenged in a community of women, that's what it is. You hear the stories of other women, you hear their struggles, and you don't feel alone. You feel actually very normal, because I find that a common thought of the women I work with is that there's something like extra special, super broken about me. Like there's something about me that's like different from the rest of the world. And they get into the group and they find it's just not true. We all have challenges in maybe unique circumstances, but the challenges are very, very similar. And so that's the magic of that program, is that you not only get to get coached yourself, but you get to be with women who are experiencing and healing and moving through the same challenges that you are. And it's just a beautiful place. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well, if you want to follow me there. You are too. What's your handle on Instagram?
Judith Gaton, JUDITHGATON.
Beautiful.
And we'll leave links in both our respective show notes for all of you who want to go stalk my dear friend, which you should. And also, I love the color of her branding. So you should go just look at that. It's beautiful. You should go check it out.
Yeah, it's colors I never would have chosen. That's so funny, because one of the things I was taught growing up is like, don't try to stand out, like try to blend in, or try to just don't draw attention to yourself. It's probably, in fact, I had like a youth leader say, don't draw attention to yourself. Don't wear tight clothes. So yeah, these branding colors, all about drawing attention.
They're bold. They're beautiful, my friend. They're beautiful.
Here's one last thing I want to say, just as kind of a personal side note, is when Judith and I started this coaching journey, I think both of us are talented and intelligent, just like the women that we work with. And we were also both riddled with self-doubt and worried about how we were going to make this work and what other people would think. And I just have to say, if the two of us can get over ourselves and find a way to stand in power and in love, anyone can do it. It is really just a wide open field of opportunity. And the type of woman that I've seen you become, the type of woman that I have become in this process, is nothing makes me happier.
Yeah. I feel so privileged to have watched you on your journey and like see you step into the stop people pleasing coach. Like when you took on that identity, it was like, oh, hey, like now the world gets to see the Sarah that I see. And they get to spend time with the Sarah that I get to spend time with. And it has been very, 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 very cool to see. And once we got out of our own way, now we get to help all these incredible women.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing. just helping women get out of their own way by learning how to identify janky panties and bras that fit and how to stop being a good girl. Judith, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, my friend. Love you. Bye, everyone. We're out.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. To learn more about how to work with me, go to judithgaton.com. Click on the Start Here button to get access to my free personal style class. I give you a quick style win, a confidence boost, and you walk away with the tools to start getting stylish. Who doesn't love that? See you there. Miss J out.